And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And, you know, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day, people. Come on, flick your finger for the channel. Now, y'all, today, this video is going to tie together so many different threads. By the end of it, you're going to be like, oh, my gosh. We're going to tie in your boy, Brandon Johnson, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago. We're going to tie in Zohran Mamdani. We're going to tie in Hakeem Jeffries. We're going to tie in AOC. This is going to be quite a treat. So sit back and relax. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, y'all. So first we're going to start off with your boy, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Now, should we start off with how he threw his whole city under the bus by rejecting federal help with the crime problem? Or should we start off with the fact that he suspended a press aide for saying something derogatory about Charlie Kirk in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination? Let's start off with him throwing his city under the bus, and then we'll get to the press aide story. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money. I'm not going to make this a long one, y'all. Go to Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com, or call 844-651-8334, 844-651-8334. If you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement, protected from inflation, protected from monetary debasement, you're about to retire. Make sure your money's still there and it's still worth something by investing at least some of it in gold. Talk to our partners at Augusta Precious Metals. Go click the link now, get the free information, and protect your precious retirement. So y'all, people in Chicago are lamenting the fact that they were this close. They were this close to getting some help with their crime problem. They were so close. Donald Trump, the president, wanted to send in the National Guard and federal agents and all kinds of people to help him out. But your boy, he said no thank you. The governor said no thank you. Now Chicagoans going to be left on their own.
Tanya, that's right. We're hearing from people on both sides of the aisle after President Trump said earlier this morning that the National Guard is not coming to Chicago.
We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
that's the next city.
Deeply troubled, and the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy, and the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago. Every weekend they're losing many people. It's out of control.
The president made the announcement about sending the Guard to Memphis live on Fox News. Trump had previously entertained the idea of sending the National Guard to Chicago amidst the planned surge in ICE operations in the city, along with recent summer gun violence. This morning, Trump said he had, quote, preferred to send the Guard to Chicago and added that he could, quote, fix Chicago. We spoke with 15th Ward Alderman Ray Lopez, who was a supporter of the Guard being deployed to the city. He says having the Guard in Chicago would have allowed Chicago police officers to better focus on patrolling city streets.
I'm disappointed because that means the citizens of Chicago are going to lose. The victims of Chicago are going to be forgotten, and the criminals of Chicago are going to think that they now have scared the president from coming here to help put things back into place. And yet there's a fringe group in the city who says, we don't want a militarized zone. Wake up, people, because you're already in a war zone.
We reached out to Governor J.B. Pritzker's office after the news broke this morning. The governor posted on X, writing, quote, it's disturbing that the president is hell-bent on sending troops onto America's streets. Using those who serve in uniform as political props is insulting. None of this is normal. Now, we've also reached out to Mayor Brandon Johnson's office for comment, but we have not heard back yet. It's not clear right now when the National Guard could be sent to Memphis, nor just how large of a force he plans to deploy. The president also told Fox News this morning that he would also send, quote, the military if necessary too.
So while all of this is happening, y'all, you know Charlie Kirk was killed just a few days ago, and it looks like one of Brandon Johnson, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, it looks like one of his press aides said something very derogatory that got that person suspended. It says, quote, now y'all, these are not my words, so don't get mad at me. Says, quote, I'm not mourning a racist, bigoted, xenophobic clown like him who hated me and mine. A community outreach worker in Mayor Brandon Johnson's press office has been suspended without pay for 10 days for claiming conservative activist Charlie Kirk, quote, got what he wished for when he was gunned down on a college campus in Utah. So the quote continues, but I understand there's a majority culture that some of y'all desire to please and are fooled into think his passion for Christianity wasn't more than to ensure his check got cleared. Y'all, is this what is a press aide? Press aide needs some writing lessons, y'all. Adkins, who makes $76,824 a year, could not be reached for comment. The mayor's office called the posting inflammatory and offensive, and Adkins has apologized publicly and deleted the post. I'll be honest, this is a little surprising that they would discipline somebody for this, considering everything that the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago has said himself. But he was talking about Donald Trump, whereas this guy is not talking about Trump. He's talking about Charlie Kirk. So I say kudos to Johnson for this one. Now, y'all, we all know that Johnson is probably the best example of a failed mayor that any of us can think about, probably since Lori Lightfoot, also of Chicago. Chicago, what are y'all thinking with your voting? Anyway, so guess who's reaching out to Johnson, I guess, for like advice? Zohran Mamdani. You know, the guy who, the socialist, the socio-communist, who is about to become mayor of New York. Here, the New York Post reports, texts reveal Zohran Mamdani has been chatting with Chicago's deeply unpopular far-left Mayor Brandon Johnson. What could they be talking about? How to ruin a city? Mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani has been chatting with Chicago's deeply unpopular far-left mayor, who Windy City voters recently warned is a poster boy for why New Yorkers shouldn't elect a Democratic socialist. In other words, the Chicagoans are like New York. Look at what we got with this illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor. Don't do what we did. And now looks like these two guys are becoming friends. I don't know. The New York City Democratic nominee fired off a friendly text message to set up a longer call with Mayor Brandon Johnson on July 11th. Hi, Mayor. This is Zohran Mamdani. I just called. Looking forward to chatting. About what? How to ruin the cities? Now, y'all, you might think this Mamdani guy is like, I don't know, kind of like a joke. But he's racking up major endorsements, y'all. The Democrats are starting to get behind him. But you're going to see here, not everybody's ready to do it. And that's what's been driving AOC crazy. Because AOC wants Mamdani to win. And the Democrats are lining up behind him, but there's some powerful voices that are still holding out. Well, one big name that Mamdani got just recently, just yesterday, I believe, was Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. She came out and endorsed Mamdani.
Turning now to the race for New York City mayor and a big endorsement for the frontrunner Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, Governor Hochul is now backing the Democratic Socialists, and the move already drawing criticism from the president and local media.
Yeah, just take a look at this. This is the front cover of today's edition of the New York Post, clearly blasting the endorsement, but still the governor is standing behind her choice. Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate joins us live in Midtown with more on the race. Phil?
Yeah, good morning. And this race has seen both local and national attention, and that's as Governor Hochul has now thrown her support behind Zohran Mamdani, who came out in front of the June primary. And it's hard to believe that we are just 2 months away from Election Day. Now, moments ago, we just saw Curtis Sliwa, and this is the first time that he'll be speaking out since that endorsement came out. Now, in that opinion piece from the governor, she says, quote, Zohran and I don't see eye to eye on everything, and I don't expect us to. I will always reserve the right to disagree honestly and to argue passionately. But I also believe that New York State and New York City are at their best when we stand together against those who attempt to tear us apart. Now, Hochul says she realized through conversations over the past few months, she and the assemblyman both prioritized issues like public safety and affordability, even if they had their disagreements. Still, other top New York Democrats have yet to formally back him, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Now, Hochul has described herself as moderate and a strong supporter of Israel, but says she and Mamdani are united when it comes to stopping the Trump administration that could hurt the city, like cuts to Medicaid.
Let's see if she goes in the street and campaigns with Mamdani, and let's see what voters, particularly the ethnic groups that he's had the most problems with, particularly voters over 45, who are more likely to turn out what they think about it in the weeks to come.
Now, in the latest Quinnipiac poll, Mamdani way out in front with a commanding lead at 45%. Meantime, Republican challenger Curtis Sliwa is polling at 15%.
But despite Hochul's endorsement, there are still very big names that are not ready to endorse Mamdani. Primary among them is Hakeem Jeffries. Now, what's interesting is, just take a look at this, okay? A spokesperson for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries referred to Senator Chris Van Hollen as, quote, Chris Van who? After the Maryland senator criticized Democrats, including Jeffries, for not endorsing Mamdani. Leader Hakeem Jeffries will have more to say about the general election well in advance of November 4th, Jeffries spokesperson Zohran Mamdani said. Meanwhile, confused New Yorkers are asking themselves the question, Chris Van who? Chermo said. So y'all, even AOC, she's apoplectic about the fact that Jeffries and other big name Democrats will not come out and endorse Mamdani. This is weird, y'all, because the whole Democratic Party, it's like, you know, it's like they wanted to swim against the tide, but they're just being pulled out with the tide, y'all. And AOC, like her, can you believe that the AOC type of ideas and policies are the ones that are winning the day with them? So I'm going to go ahead and show y'all what AOC had to say and how that caused some additional controversy. It looks like a little bit of infighting, but I think at the end of the day, even big names like Hakeem Jeffries are going to fall in line. Let's take a look.
We have a Democratic nominee. Are we a party that rallies behind our nominee or not? And I believe, as a person who has rallied, I supported Joe Biden when he was the nominee. He was not my preferred candidate in the primary. I, of course, supported Vice President Harris for the presidency because I am a Democrat. And what we do is that we use our primaries to settle our differences. And once we have a nominee, we rally behind that nominee. I am very concerned about the example that is being set by anybody in our party.
So why would AOC have a problem with Hakeem Jeffries? And again, in a little bit, you're going to see where the reporter asks her directly about his name. But let's take a look at a couple of clips where Hakeem Jeffries talks about Mamdani. Now, he has had a meeting with Mamdani, and he has, up until now, he has refused to endorse Mamdani. In this first clip, the interviewer, the host, is going to ask him about the fact that Mamdani, who is a wealthy man, is living in a rent-controlled apartment. And this has been something that his critics have used to take a dig at him. And as you will see, Hakeem Jeffries does not defend him, as you would expect him to do with a fellow Democrat. Let's take a look.
Andrew Cuomo has made the point that Zohran Mamdani lives in a rent-controlled apartment, even though he is not considered, quote-unquote, poor, and that Andrew Cuomo would actually try to create a law in the state that would prevent people like Mamdani from living in a rent-controlled apartment. Do you think that he should live in a rent-controlled apartment?
Well, listen, that's an issue for the state legislators and the state government to work out.
No, but it's a fascinating issue about affordability in this city, and whether there are folks who are living in rent-controlled apartments all across this city that effectively should be going towards poor people who need that affordability.
It's a legitimate issue that has been raised, and the Mamdani campaign is going to have to address it.
And now in this next clip, the reporter is going to just ask him straight up, hey, Hakeem, how come you haven't endorsed this guy? What's going on? And, well, you'll see what Hakeem Jeffries has to say. Spoiler alert, he's not going to endorse him. At least not yet.
Over the recess, you met with Zohran Mamdani. What's taking you so long to support him? What do you need to hear from him to get behind the nominee from your party?
Stay tuned.
Why can't you get, what is it, are you concerned about his politics?
Stay tuned.
So all of this has apparently caused your girl to be disheveled, distraught, and somewhat disappointed. So here the reporter is going to ask her directly, hey, why don't you call these people out? Now, do you think AOC, this is one thing, she's actually pretty good at being a politician, y'all, because she'll call out the other side by name and go in on them. But when it comes to calling out her own side by name, she'll back. AOC is like the type of person, she's a sticker and a mover. She sticks and then she moves, right? She'll say something, but she'll never go all the way. She'll never go all the way. But anyway, so if you thought she was going to really go in on Hakeem Jeffries and the leadership, well, let's take a look at what she says.
I believe that we must set the example of supporting the party's nominee because it complicates. If an individual doesn't want to support the party's nominee now, it complicates their ability to ask voters to support any nominee later, whether that is mayoral, presidential, what have you. And so I think for the good of the party, we must put our differences aside and support our party's nominee.
It sounds as though you are frustrated, though, with Jeffries and Schumer for not publicly making a position on this yet.
No, I mean, I think that this isn't about personalities, right? I think that we're in a moment of a Trump administration. The stakes are high, and I want, of course, to see our party come together and stick together despite our differences. And that's how I feel about the matter.
So, y'all, I told you we were going to talk about your boy, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, Mamdani, AOC, Hakeem Jeffries. See how seamlessly I did that? Now, y'all, let me know what you think, y'all. Do you think that Mamdani and AOC's type of policies are going to win the day? Or do you think Democrats have it within them to push back against the craziness? Let me know down in the comments, y'all. Before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all of your favorite social mediums. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. For my people with a retirement, you already know, go down to the first link in the description, Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. What is going to happen to your money when the Democrats get back in office? This is 4 years that they don't get to touch your money. You know what they're going to do to your money when they get back in office? You know how many people they want to give your money to? Protect it, y'all. Call my people, my partners at Augusta Precious Metals at 844-651-8334. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.